What is NASA's Artemis program? Artemis is an ongoing space mission led by NASA to land the first female and subsequent male astronauts on the moon's south pole by 2024. It is the U.S. Space Agency's first space mission to the moon since Apollo 17 in 1972. The Artemis space mission focuses on exploring the moon, but NASA's long-term goals are more ambitious. With the skills, technology, and research developed during the flight and landing of the Artemis spacecraft, NASA intends to launch a future manned mission to Mars. NASA's ambitious Moon to Mars plan calls for the construction of a new space station in lunar orbit and ultimately a habitable lunar base. In this video, we will give an overview of the Artemis project, but before we move forward in the video, make sure to subscribe for more content and like this video to receive similar suggestions from YouTube. Also, we highly appreciate your comments. Now, let's get straight into the video. Why is this program called Artemis? Artemis is the Greek mythological moon goddess and the twin sister of Apollo. Therefore, the connection with the mission that first took humans to the moon 50 years ago becomes clear. However, the name Artemis has a double meaning, as one of the goals of NASA's mission was to land the first woman on the moon. Meanwhile, the manned spaceship currently under development is called Orion, one of the most famous constellations in the sky and a mythological companion to the hunt for Artemis. While the main mission of the Apollo program was to bring the first humans to the lunar surface, the mission behind the government was primarily political. At that time, the world was still facing the scars of World War II, and nations were struggling to prove who had the best weapons and the most advanced technology. Because of this, the former Soviet Union and the United States faced each other in what was known as the space race, to show which country had the most advanced technology. For several years, the Soviet Union seemed to have the full advantage of being the first to put an artificial satellite into orbit, Sputnik 1, the first transcontinental rocket, the R-7, that could strike any country in the world at any time, and the first human in space, Yuri Gagarin. Therefore, former U.S. President John F. Kennedy made the statement that the United States would place the first man on the lunar surface in the late 1960s, and one way or another, the United States achieved this not once, but 6 times with the missions Apollo 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17. This declared them to be the undisputed victors in the space race. While the Apollo missions had specific goals such as collecting most of the lunar samples and bringing them back to Earth, what prompted the government to undertake missions was especially the fear that the Soviet Union would win the space race. That is, everything was more political than scientific. The Artemis project started with a vision based on science and commerce, not politics. It will be one of the main focal points of the research, seeking to revive the spirit. In order to find and trade materials that we can extract from the moon and which are extremely rare on Earth, the Artemis project began with the early stages of space excavation. Why is NASA returning to the moon? NASA is trying not only to repeat the heroic actions of the Apollo missions with Artemis, but also to fly to the moon and stay there. That means exploring the possibility of establishing bases in lunar orbit and on the lunar surface, with the main goal so far being to get people back on the moon by 2024. The main objectives of the NASA mission include equality. NASA's ultimate goal is to land the first woman and the next man on the lunar surface. Technology. From rockets to spacesuits, technologies currently under development are intended to pave the way for future space missions. Partnership. The Artemis program is one of NASA's first large-scale collaborations with commercial companies such as Blue Origin, SpaceX, and Boeing. Long-term presence. Where the crew of Apollo 17 spent 3 days on the lunar surface, Artemis wanted to build a base that would extend the journey to weeks and possibly months. Knowledge. With more known about the moon than 50 years ago and the technology that has advanced significantly, NASA says the next set of missions will be able to sample more strategically than in the Apollo era. Resources. The discovery of lunar water and potential rare mineral deposits holds promise for scientific and economic research and exploitation. How will NASA get back to the moon? There are 4 main phases of the Artemis Moon mission currently under development. Each piece is required to land on the moon with the crew by 2024. This includes the Orion spacecraft, Lunar Gateway, Moon Landing Module, and Space Launch System, SLS. Orion spacecraft. Equipped with life support systems and a shuttle interface, the Orion is the command module needed to transport astronauts through space. Testing of the module began in February 2020, with NASA exposing it to extreme temperatures and harsh environments to be tested in space. Lunar Gateway. The Lunar Gateway is a small space station orbiting the moon that is supposed to dock with the Orion module and serve as a base for astronauts to explore the lunar surface. Unlike the International Space Station, ISS, it is not permanently occupied but serves as a platform where astronauts can stay and research for short periods of time. International partners such as the European Space Agency are working with NASA to design the Lunar Gateway to launch the first part of the structure aboard a commercial rocket by 2022. Moon Landing Module. Spacecraft that land on the moon will carry cargo and people from the Lunar Gateway to the lunar surface. NASA is currently working with commercial companies to develop human landing systems known as HLS and various other robotic and cargo vehicles. If the Apollo lunar module was designed for a single trip to the lunar surface, the landing system for the Artemis mission would be used for multiple missions. Space Launch System, SLS. The connection with all of these elements is the launcher that will take them out of the Earth's atmosphere into space. This super heavy rocket can carry nearly 180,000 kilograms and will cost more than $800 million per launch. When completed, the SLS will be the most powerful rocket in the world, rivaling the original Saturn V launcher that first carried astronauts to the moon. This launcher was developed by NASA for most of the last decade and has survived many delays and rising costs. In January 2020, NASA launched the main stage for the SLS rocket in preparation for testing before the first launch of Artemis. Will lunar flights help people land on Mars? While a trip to the moon takes 3 days, getting to Mars is a much longer and more complex goal. NASA believes Artemis lays the groundwork for international space agencies and private companies to build lunar settlements and economies and eventually send people to Mars from there. What is NASA's budget for Artemis? The proposed new budget for 2021 is $25.2 billion, a 12% increase from the existing plan. If approved, it will be the biggest boost in funding for NASA in decades, with $12.3 billion spent on the Artemis mission. However, the budget must be reviewed by Congress before it can be approved. NASA Artemis mission timeline. Artemis 1. This unmanned mission, previously called Exploration Mission 1, is a comprehensive test of the Space Launch System, SLS, and the Orion module. This mission was originally scheduled for 2020, although NASA now hopes to conduct this test before the end of 2021. The SLS will lift off from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, and once in space, the Orion module will separate and fly to the moon. Its orbit will take it 62 miles above the lunar surface before continuing 40,000 miles behind the moon. After a travel time of 20 to 25 days, the module will explode in the Pacific near California. Artemis 2. The start is planned for late 2022. This will be an innovative manned spaceflight for the Artemis program that will take people further into space than ever before. After the launch of the SLS rocket into space, a 4-person crew will fly the Orion module 8,889 kilometers behind the moon, complete the lunar flight, and return to Earth. The missions will last between 8 and 10 days and gather valuable data from flight tests. Artemis 3. The third lunar mission is going to be the first lunar landing since Apollo 17 in 1972 and is expected to take the first female astronaut to the moon. Based on the Artemis 2 mission, the 4 astronauts aboard the Orion module will climb the Lunar Gateway and stay in space for 30 days. The human landing system will then take the 2 astronauts to the moon's south pole, a region that has never been visited by humans. Astronauts are expected to spend a week exploring the surface to carry out various studies, including samples of water ice, which was first discovered on the moon in 1971. Artemis 4, 5, 6, and more. NASA is currently focused on Artemis missions 1 through 3. If successful, NASA has ambitions for additional manned missions every year until 2030. One of the hopes is that future astronauts will start building bases on the lunar surface, in light of the possible use of satellites as rest during trips to Mars. This was all for today's video. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.